Right, okay, last video what we did was we looked at how to save pages so we can get additional content on there by inserting a Google map. I'm going to do something similar now to insert a form onto the website. So we'll go back to the index page first of all, and I'll do File, Save As. Notice how it defaults straight back to the folder again, and this time I'm going to call it feedback page, or just feedback, that'll do. Click on Save, and I've got myself another page now called feedback. What I will need to do, of course, at a later date is update all the links that are on all the different pages to make sure they all link to each other. But in the meantime, I'm going to take this feedback page, I'm going to delete all the content that's currently on it, and in this instance I'm actually going to get rid of the table that's already there because I want to do something slightly different. So if I click in one of the cells of the table, and if I look down here at this section, I want to select the table like so. So click on that word table, and then I want to just press delete, and that has now got rid of the table for me. Now I do want to be clipped within the content div, so I just need to double check and make sure that's still the case. And I can tell up here by looking at the HTML for the page where the cursor is, it's positioned between the opening and closing content div, so that's fine. Okay, to insert the form is slightly different. We go to Insert, Form, and we choose the word Form. And you can see it's put up these red dotted lines where you might be expecting a table. That's fine. Now my cursor is currently inside the form area that I've just defined, and if you have a look up here in the HTML, if I just pull this down a minute, you can see here's the content div that opens, here's the content div when it closes, and within there I've inserted this tag, this form tag. So form, it's called form1, etc. You can see here the angle bracket that closes it, and then you can see the closing tag for the form, and in the middle of it is my cursor, which is exactly where I want it to be, because inside the form area this is where I'm going to insert the table. So insert table, and I'm probably going to want a few more rows, etc. this time, so I'll go for 6, and I'll go for let's go for 6 again. The other settings can remain the same. If I click OK, what that's actually done, if I just click off it, I've inserted a table, but the table is within the form area, and I can check that by looking at the HTML up here. If I just select it properly, so we can see here is the form, and then that's where the form is currently closing. Oh, sorry, not tell a lie. Yeah, that's where the form is currently closing, and then inside it I've got this table that I've inserted, and then finally at the bottom we can see the table closes before the form closes. And the rest of this HTML code that you're looking at here, these are all rows, so these tr table rows, and these non-breaking spaces, these are just non-breaking. It's like we pressed enter on the keyboard. So I'm happy with that. I've got myself a table within the form area. Let me just close that gap a minute, and of course what I want to do is drag this down a little bit now so that it fills more or less the content div. Okay, that'll do for now. Just going to reduce the view on this. I'm going to set it to 50% just to give you a better idea of what we're looking at. The usual applies. What we need to do now is change maybe the width and the height, width of the columns, height of the rows, and adjust it to get something that resembles a layout that you can work with. It's trial and error, but you'll see what I'm doing is I'm making some of these columns wider than others, and it's the columns that are a bit wider where I'm going to put a text label. Let's see how this works. Okay, it's not perfect, but it'll do for now. So inside this cell, I'll just zoom it back up for a moment, 200%. I'm going to put in there title, and then I might want surname, and next to it I want people to be able to choose from a drop down arrow what their title is, Mr, Mrs, Miss, or whatever, and surname is going to be a text area where they're free to write their surname. So into this cell first of all, and back up to insert, form, and for this I think I'm going to go for a select list menu. So, oh sorry, yeah, select list menu. We don't need to do anything here, we just click OK, and you can see it's put in a drop down arrow, but I need to put choices on that. So I select it, and down at the bottom you can see it's brought up the properties for it. Moving across, we've got some list values that we can add in there. So if I click on list values, I can put in the first value that I want. So we'll go for Mr. We'll add another one. We'll have Mrs. Add another one, Miss, and you can continue in that fashion until you've got all the ones that you want. So we'll click OK, and this will now work as a drop-down list when I preview it in my browser. We'll have a look at that in a second, but first of all, let's go to the surname area, and again, insert, form. This time we're looking for a text field. We can just click OK through this, and there we've got a text field for someone to free type. And if I just select it, again, I've got the properties for it down here at the bottom. I can choose the maximum characters, etc. I can change various other options as well. That'll do for now. If I save that, and then if I preview it, you can see that the drop down arrow works, and I'm free of course to type in a surname in there. I'm going to show you now how to add some further things in here, so you need to have a little think about what you want to capture as far as data is concerned. We might capture, for example, mobile number. We might then ask for the email address. I'm just going to insert some text fields in here, so insert, form, text field, OK. I'll do the same in here, insert, form, text field, OK. And I'm going to ask people how would they prefer to be contacted. So how would you prefer to be contacted? OK, and just make that capital letter. And for this, I could choose to have another drop-down box like that, but on this occasion I'm going to demonstrate a radio button. Insert, form, and this time we're looking not for a radio button but for a radio group. So if we select that, click on this one, and we'll have the first label, which will be, I guess, mobile in this case. Click on this one, we'll have email, and if I wanted other options I can just click on the add button and keep adding on until I'm happy. Click OK. You can see the two radio buttons. Now I'm going to pre-select one by selecting it, coming down to its properties, and its initial state I'm going to leave it as checked, so it's almost forcing the user to select one of these, and if they don't it will remain on mobile by default. Save that, come back to the web page and refresh it. You can see the extra things I've put in now. So we've got mobile, email, and I can choose one of those, and if you notice this one was pre-selected. Okay, final things now for the form. Just move this over. Sometimes we get an area on a form that says something like any comments, and then we give the user an area for them to write in freely. So to do that I'll just highlight this area, right click, table, and merge those cells. Make sure I'm selected in that area, and this time insert, form, I'm going to put a text area in. Click OK, and there's the free text area. I can select it of course and come down and play with some of its properties. If I wanted to increase the number of lines or the character width, I can do that. I'll leave it on its default setting for now. Save that. Let's go and have a look at how that looks. So there we go, free to write in there, and you can see there's a scroll arrow at the side, and if you go longer than that it will expand. The only thing we're missing now are two buttons, one called submit and one called reset. The submit button, if we were allowed to in school, we could put some code on it so that it would send this information to an email address, but we can't do that, we're not allowed to. So we'll have it on there anyway, just so we can see what it looks like. What we can do is insert a reset button, which would essentially clear this form, so if somebody's filled it out and decides they've made a mistake, they can just hit the reset button and it'll clear in one go. Let's have a look at that. So, put one in here, and one in here. Very easy. Insert, form, button. Okay. And the first button by default is the submit button, and as I said, if we weren't in school we could put code on that would send this form to an email address, but we can't. Over to the next one. Insert, form, button. Okay, comes up with the submit option. It's no problem because down here in its properties we can change that to a reset. If I save that now, don't forget, of course, if you wanted to, you can click in that cell and you can play around with the alignment. So we could, I guess, send it to the centre. Go to horizontal. Could do it with that one too. Your choice. Save that now. Let's go and have a look at this on preview. So I can refresh. There's my submit and my reset button. So just to show it works, entered some text in there, I can reset it and it clears. So that is how you can go and include a feedback form on your website. Think about the sort of things you want to ask people. You've got all these different techniques, you've got drop down lists, you've got radio buttons, and you've got free text areas.